This is the third video in my Blender Basics object modeling series, and for this one we're going to go ahead and do a very simple low poly style sword. Okay, so this is going to be made up out of a few multiple objects, and so in this video I will show you how to join multiple objects into a single object. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, I'm going to tab into edit mode on my cube here. I'll go ahead and scale it down a little bit. Okay, so I want the whole cube selected, and I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to build the sword along the green Y axis. So to make a blade, I'm going to press R to rotate, Y to lock it to the Y axis, and I'll go ahead and I'll do 45 degrees. And so by typing in 45 on your numpad or at the top of your keyboard there, you get this nice diamond now shape here. Okay, so now if I go ahead, I'm going to scale it on the Z-axis, and if I scale on the Z-axis, you'll see that it comes down, and now this is actually going to be become the blade. Okay, so now it's starting to look like that. Do A to deselect all. I'm mostly going to be working in face mode, so again, I'm selecting face mode down here at the bottom, and I'm going to go ahead and extrude out. And the reason why I'm extruding out right now is so that I can then go ahead and make this be the point or the tip of the sword. So I'm going to merge all of these four vertices and these edges together. So with that face selected on the keyboard, I'm going to press on a Mac it's Option M. On a Windows computer it's Alt M. So I'm going to do Option M, and I'm going to say merge at center, and you'll see that they go to a single point. So that's pretty cool right there. I'll now come back, take this face here, and I'll move it along the Y-axis, G, Y, something like that. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to make the hilt. So I'm going to tab out of object mode, and I'm going to get my 3D cursor. I want my hilt to start right here, so to be pretty precise, I can go back into edit mode. I want my 3D cursor to snap right here to be the center of this selection. So you can press Shift S, and then you can say cursor to selected, and now the 3D cursor jumps right here to whatever's selected. I'll now tab into object mode, and there's my 3D cursor. As long as I don't left click, it stays there. Okay, so that's there. Now I'm going to do Shift A, and I'll add in a cube, and you'll see that the cube gets added in precisely right there. Okay, so I'll tab, excuse me, tab into edit mode. I'll scale it down, something like that. Scale on the Z-axis so it's not quite so tall, like that. Okay, so this is the beginning of the hilt, and now I can go ahead and select the sides. I can extrude them out a little bit. Okay, and now what I can do is I could do some more extrusions and make this hilt a little fancier. I could go ahead and just take these two faces here and grab them and move them up a little bit. Actually, let me undo that. I'm going to switch to edge mode and just select this edge and this edge here and grab them and move them up a little bit, so that way it gives it a little bit of a tilt. Actually, I'll go ahead and I'll select, should have done all four of those. Select these guys as well, make them come up a little bit too. So if I go into top mode, that way, or my top more view, you can see there. Okay, so something like that. That's pretty good. Okay, and then maybe I'll go ahead and I'll go back into face mode here real quickly. Thin this out a little bit. It's not quite so. There we go. That's feeling much better. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So now what I want to do is I now need the basically the sword handle here that you would actually grip onto. So I'm just going to make that part of the hilt. So I'm going to press I to inset, and it's going to come in something like that. Then I'll scale it on the x-axis so that way it comes in more like a square. Maybe I'll scale it on the z-axis a little bit. There we go. Okay, so now I can just extrude outward, and that's going to make for the handle maybe something like that. Okay, and now I want to make the end here, the butt of the sword. Okay, so I'm going to extrude. I'm going to left mouse click. I'll scale so I can go outward, and then I'll extrude again, and then maybe I'll scale it downward a little bit, something like that. And you can get a little fancier here if you want to. For instance, I could inset this, scale it, oops, extrude it out maybe one more time, scale it inward, and I could make this maybe look a little bit like a different material, different color, so that could actually be like a little jewel or something like that. Okay, so this is what I would basically call low poly. Again, you can do loop cuts on the blade and make it kind of crooked and look like it's been through battle. I could do some different materials here. So this is where I would stop and call it low poly. I'll go ahead and do some different materials here just to dress it up a little bit. I'm going to do loop cut right here on the handle, and I'm going to scroll my mouse wheel a couple of times like that maybe, and then I'll just left click, and then I'll left click again to place it so I didn't move them. And there we go. So now I have some different slices there, so I can do different materials there. Okay, good to go. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around, I'm going to get back into face mode, and I'm going to go around and I'm going to make my materials. Okay, so to make my materials, I'm going to go ahead and I can just select all or not select all. I'm going to come over here to my materials, and I'm going to make a new material. Since this object is going to have multiple materials, it is a really good idea to name them, and we're going to do the fast, easy way of copying and borrowing them and things like that. So it is a really good idea to name them. Alright, so this first material, remember Blender names them with generic names and generic numbers. So I'm going to double click, and this is going to be, I could call it, I'll just call it sword. And I'm going to turn off my screencasting so that way you don't have to see it. Okay, so I'm going to call this sword hilt mat. There we go. Okay, so it describes the object because in my game I might have a shield, I'll have a ground, a barrel, a character, and so I like to name my materials by the object and then the part of the object, that's the hilt. And then mat, so I know I'm working with a material here. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just choose a color right now. I can always go back and change it later, and I'm going to make this sort of a gold, kind of a gold color here. Okay, good. So you'll notice that it changes the whole object, and that's because there's only one material. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on the little plus button, makes a new slot, click on the new button, and that gives me a new material. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'll do I'm going to do sword, hilt, or no, sorry, this is the handle. And I'm going to call this mat 1 because I'm going to have two materials. And I'm just going to go ahead and choose two colors here. And I'll go with kind of a reddish color here, maybe something a little darker. Something like that. Okay, and I'm going to go around and I'm going to select this, all of these here, and I'm going to then go ahead and click on the material and hit assign, and that way it now gets that right there. Now you could just go ahead and shift click and select and do all of these here, and you could do every single one of them here like this and just do it like that. Choose the material and hit assign, and that certainly works. I'm going to undo a couple times here. Faster, instead of shift clicking and going all the way around, is if you select one of the faces, and then if you hold down Option on a Mac, it's Alt on a Windows. If you hold down Option and hold down Shift at the same time, it should select the entire loop. Let's see, it's not doing it for me. I don't know why. There we go. So I basically just kept doing it. So if you Option right mouse click, there we go. So I clicked on the side and it went around and it loop selected going all the way around. Sometimes you'll see if I select the top one, it's trying to do the loop on the top here. If I Option right mouse click, here on the side, there we go, it actually loop selected there. So again, whatever's fastest. And now if I want to select this loop, it's Option Shift and going around, and I selected all of them. So it's a little faster. There we go. Hit Assign and good to go. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'll make a third one. And this is going to be the the butt of it. I'll just call it base. And again, I'm not sure what color I want right now, but I'll just choose kind of a really dark brown. Okay, I don't know why it's not working. It's not letting me select, going all the way around, but okay. Okay, so those are all the faces there. Again, Assign. Okay, and the very last material is going to be that little gem at the bottom there. Okay, and we'll go ahead and we'll make this kind of a brighter, make that kind of a bright blue so it really stands out. Okay, so there we go. If I tab back into object mode, you can see the finished object here. Whoops, it looks like I forgot to do my second material. So, okay, I'll finish that up. I need to make a second material for here, so I have a striped effect. I'm going to pause, so I think you don't need to watch it, and then we'll finish up with the blade. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I've mapped out all of my materials. I'm going to go ahead and get into object mode just to show you that you can change your materials on the fly. I'm in object mode now, and you can change your materials on object mode. I want to change the gem color because it's a blue, and I want it to be a little bit different than this second material. If you can't see all of your materials over here, there is a little scroll bar. You can also left click and drag downward so you can see all of them, so that's nice. I'm going to select the gem material, and I can just come over here and maybe I'll make it a green. Ooh, interesting. It looks like I did not, let me undo that. It looks like I did not assign them, so that's unfortunate. There we go. I didn't press assign. Okay, so now we've got it there. I can now select the gem, change the color, and you can see that it changes to a greenish color there. Okay, so you can basically select them over here, change the color on the fly, and you'll go ahead and you'll get it. So that's good. That looks fine to me. Okay, so now we have basically two objects. You'll see that the blade is a separate object. It has a material. I'll go ahead and name this here. Call it Sword Blade Matte. And because this is only going to have one material, I can go ahead and choose whatever I want. Maybe I'll give it a very light blue. Okay, so to join these two objects together, you shift right click, select both objects, and you then press Control J, and that joins the two objects together. So now just to show you, if I select it, press G to grab, they are a single object, and there you go. That's all you need. And you'll see that all of the materials now come into the list, so I have more materials. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Make sure you save as you go along, and I'll see you in the next video.